Hello, I'm Colin.
And I'm John.
How are you doing this evening? Colin, you all right?
I'm okay. Tired again. It's this room, this lighting, this company just makes me yawn. But
Is that
uh,
a Pavlovian response? Like you come online and start to get sleepy?
it must be. I'm saying I was feeling all right all afternoon. I've been relaxed today, not doing anything. Reading a book. That's what I was doing this afternoon, right? And sat down here. I felt fine. Had my dinner, made dinner, had
I'm
dinner.
thinking of yawning now, if I'm honest with
I thought you said we need to pad this.
I was going to say, keep going. Tell us what you read. Read us the first chapter.
you. Anyway, John, how about you? How are you doing?
No, fuck off. I'm really curious about Colin's book.
Go power play.
Power play.
What's
Is it
that?
a self-help guide or?
No, it's just none. It's a fiction. Fiction. Fast-paced fiction. Like Baldacci at his best, that's what it says on the cover.
Yeah, I mean, going to school camp, primary school, and they played a tape with some reading a story. And the only bit that I think they made it the most boring story ever to get the kids to fall asleep. But the only bit I remember is about he saying is he tried to make it sound dramatic, but the line was, and he went to the cupboard for to pick up a box of cornflakes and a bowl. That was it. That's a bit of the
You
bit
fell asleep.
that must have been the bit that done me.
Do you
Oof.
ever listen to audiobooks?
Sometimes
So
I can't concentrate on them though.
I've been a bit like that, but recently I've started, if I'm going to a walk, usually a Thursday night when she's training, I'll go a big walk. And instead of sitting reading the book in the car, I thought I'll go a walk for an hour and a half. And I'll put the thing on, but it's the same guy doing the audio for these books that I'm reading at the moment. And he tries to do an Irish accent, American accent. It's the same guy, and you're just like, man, that's shite. Just read it. Just read it out. Rather than these. And there's even he's trying to do a different American accent for a different person and that, and you're like,
Oh no.
just read the fucking thing. See how many times I'm thinking I'm going to clip that and send that to you too when I get back to the car, and then I just didn't get into it because it's so bad. Like that, he's got an Irish guy, he's got a Scottish guy, and he's got Americans, and you're like, it's in English, and aye, it's that is the hardest part for me taking it seriously. Then
Aye.
See, if you listen to a lot of audiobooks, do you think you could still describe yourself as well read, or would it be well listened?
don't know.
Bit of both. Stevie says, evening, folks. Good to see you back. Hope all is well. Yep, all good. Ronnie said, evening, guys. EH Hibs says, Colin's been reading his Biff, Chip, and Kipper books again.
Oh, aye.
Uh, and Stevie said, let's skip the shit show that was September, October, and November and get straight into December. No, we will be covering September the night. Stevie, sorry about that. John says, evening, everybody. Not you, John, because you still not answered how you're doing yet. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Aye, just all right. I've got a wee bit of a cold or something. Not exciting. Just
Ian, he says, I hope the dysentery is better.
aye.
I think we
It's
described it as life changing.
it's an intermittent affliction. Sometimes I've got it, sometimes I've no. Sometimes I can make it, sometimes I can't.
Them's breaks, huh?
Hmm. But you two are the draw anyway. I'm just a wee bit sort of. I'm like Poochie in The Simpsons. I'm just a wee side act
I don't know.
that you
Like
forget about.
folk ask for you all the time. I don't know. You must keep us on the straight and narrow or something. Anyway, I've just noticed he's got his Blue Peter T-shirt on again. You seen that?
I need to show you. I'm thinking of getting a tattoo, Colin, like a sleeve,
Mhm.
and I'll show you the design. It incorporates a. I'll send you a picture of it. And
Aye, do that. Critique.
I'll
You're
put it
not
in the
sending
group
it to
one so
me?
you can see it as well.
No. Fuck off.
Right.
I'm not
Uh,
interested now.
Raphael Salinger signed this week. Goalkeeper. He's Austrian. He has a very Austrian name. He's 6'5", which I think we worked out in our group chat. There was the exact height that you can be tall and not remarkably tall, though.
Hmm.
You say it's a really Austrian name, but it's not the most Austrian name I can think of.
What's the most Austrian name you can think of, John?
Marko Arnautovic.
All right. Well, I'm calling racism there, but carry on. I don't know. It's quite an Austrian sounding name. Like if you were to get that name, I would think it'd be that area. Anyway, right, let's not talk about his name. let's talk about him as a goalkeeper. John, have you had a chance to have a look? 3-year contract that we've brought him in on. You have a look at his clips that Hibs showed?
No, I haven't. I don't know why, actually. I've probably paid it the same sort of attention as Jamie McGrath. I think I think the best thing we could all do is judge him when he plays,
I totally agree.
because the clips are we've been burned by that before.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough, right, Colin?
I've also not watched the clips because one, I didn't see them getting tweeted. Two, I'm switched off at the moment. Right, this is all I've got for Hibs at the moment. This bit on a Sunday, and like we've done it before. I actually said this earlier on to my brother-in-law. We were talking about it, and I said, I'm just going to make my mind up when I see him playing, because I remember way back, even when Zibby Malkowski signed,
Yeah,
there was folk in Ireland tell us he was really good because he came for a cross ball once. So I'll wait and see he's played a few games before I make any judgment. And as part of this programme that we are doing, I've been listening back to our old podcasts,
yeah.
and that's what I was clearly doing with Bursick. Even though I think if you listen to the old ones, you can hear that I had doubts about Bursick quite early on, but I was still no writing the boy off. Although I got close to it in this September, I think, after
That
the
sounds like a
Dundee.
convenient bit of revisionism there, Colin. I
Listen
had my
back,
doubts.
listen back.
I said it all along.
I listen back, honestly. It's like, because he was, I never, I was questioning why we signed a guy permanent and played the lone player, and then questioned some of the goals, even in the first league game. So I'm got a bit, but I wasn't writing him off because I thought, well, he's just here, he needs to settle in, he's a different country, all that. The 6'5" thing's interesting though, because Matt Macy used to get written off because he was, what was he, 6'6", 6'7",
6'7".
and so because he was 6'7", he was expected to save everything, I think. So 6'5" seems to give you that bit of leeway where you're no Andy Gorham size either, or
Oh,
Maxwell, or whoever the other wee ones we've had in the past, where it's like, well, he doesn't come for crosses and make stuff up about him. So he's at the upper end of that though.
mhm.
I think 6'2" to 6'4" is your comfortable space for a goalkeeper. 6'5", you're pushing it.
Do you remember the Evening News had a story about he was Macalambi having to get a shirt specially made for him because he
Aye.
was so tall?
That's nonsense, eh?
Mhm.
I've got a
Well,
vague recollection.
he wore them and it looked like it was specially made, but by somebody who had never made clothes before.
Yeah.
I remember someone, I can't remember the specifics of it, but it was around about the time that he was rumoured to be signing. And I think it was on the bounce, and it was saying that they'd seen Macalambi like touching the bar above the tunnel. And he's like, oh, he looks fucking massive. And he was, like, he was a big tall guy, but it didn't make any difference, really.
John says, I'm wearing the same t-shirt, Matt. I fine taste and all that. Ian says, remember the hype about McCurdy? And there's a point, like many folk talking about having blood on your hands. Like if
Yep.
Kensal would have blood in his hands if we never signed McCurdy, and all the hype that surrounded him and how that ended up. Also, Alan O'Brien, if we were talking about old players that we remember,
Like
when
that.
he signed it, it was spooling a motorbike, is how he was
Yeah.
described with. But he did have a sort of stuff in common with a motorbike that if you tried to get a motorbike to play football, it would be quite like Alan O'Brien.
I remember talking about him, and I think I've done it on here, how I was surprised that he bought a king rib supper when he was in the chippy. Because I was behind him in the queue at Piers up the road. And so
What did you get that night?
Oh, I would have been buying for the family, like would have been the variety of fish and different bits and bobs. But I he king rib, and I thought, that's a king rib supper. I wouldn't have expected that.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone get a king rib in the supper. Like, I just assumed it was the same
thing.
king rib that they always had there in the draw.
No, I've mentioned that in group chats. So folk are like, "Oh, you need to get a king rib." I've never really had it. I've had it. I must have had it for a chippy, but it's not a frequent thing. I was just surprised that a professional footballer would get it. That isn't for Scotland as well, because I felt like, can we go to chippies in England and Ireland and that?
Yeah.
And it's just fish or sausage you get, really.
Alan O'Brien played against Barcelona at Murrayfield, and we wonder why we got scudded that night. Ken, it's like a game I talk about is being lucky to have seen Messi and that, and then you think, you can't imagine there's Barca fans thinking, mind we saw Alan O'Brien.
Ryan Kerr in the middle of the park as well.
Mental. So a new goalkeeper anyway. somebody said, who was it, so that they wanted to see, Stevie said, I want to see Jordan Smith in goal for the first game. Love the guy, and he really was a huge reason we turned that horrific corner. What do you think it means then? We've got a new keeper in. Does Jordan Smith start with the gloves next season, John?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? I started thinking about something.
I'll repeat the
Thinking
question.
about what he's getting
What
for the
you were
chippy.
thinking. Was it fish and chips?
I'm a missionary man when it comes to the chippy. It's just fish and chips. Battered. No bready. Didn't get the special fish.
Jordan Smith, did he start with the gloves when the new season kicks off?
It's a great question, and I have been thinking about it before we came on, and I don't know quite what the answer is because we had the scenario last year, and I know that we've obviously got our disagreements about loan signings as number ones and permanent guys as being the number two, but Smith came into the fold last year, and he was part of a relatively successful Hibs side. Like he wasn't without his flaws. Like he's obviously a wee bit on the. He's a little bit less, a little bit shorter than 6'5", but he had a defence in front of him that prevented quite a bit coming his way.
Yeah.
And quite often when he was called upon, I want to say was it against Dundee where he had that really good double save. So he showed his quality in the games that he appeared in. But we also have that situation now where we spent, I think it was at 300 grand,
Reported, yeah.
reported 300 grand on the very Austrian sounding Raphael Salinger. So I don't know, like that feels like the kind of sum that we would be paying for someone to be number one. But also you take into account the fact that Smith signed a new contract. So, I mean, unless there's been conversations behind the scenes where Smith's went, aye, fine, improved contract, I'll be number two. But I can't imagine that in his career, up to the sort of point that we're in now, where he's kind of taken the number one gloves for the first time, that he's going to want to give that up. But you also have a bit of competition there with a new guy coming in.
Now, Colin, we had this conversation before about somebody being signed as a number two, as John says it. I imagine the conversation goes more like you're coming in to compete for the jersey rather than we've got a first choice and a backup.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
No, I totally agree with that. I think I hope, and I said this in the Patreon members chat on the other day because somebody else made this point. I don't know if it's the same person. But I thought, no, I only want us to sign players that we think are better than what we've already got, right? Because that's how we get better. That doesn't mean he will be, though. And Smith goes in with the credit in the bank and probably his first choice going into pre-season. But pre-season's then where it's like a clean slate, although David Gray knows what he's got there.
Yeah.
So he's probably edged a wee bit ahead, but really, it's all about what they do, how they're looking in pre-season and how they perform, I think, before we decide. I don't think anybody should go in as guaranteed a place.
Ronnie said, think Sir David Gray will decide who will start during pre-season, I would have thought. And then Kieran said, the boy's no sign to not play, has he? And good evening, Green Tea as well. They're saying that we need experienced keepers. We do. We saw, obviously, with the Scotland game, the perils of having an inexperienced keeper playing.
That's mental that we've not got a Scottish goalie, like that's played a league game before.
Aye. Well, there
That's what we're saying.
there must be Scottish goalkeepers that could have come in. I was having a think because I had a moan on the night about Steve Clark putting the laddie in that position. I mean, he's not like a young laddie, but he's not played a senior game. And you think, well, maybe if he's up and coming, that's good for his, like, to be in around other international keepers. But surely, fuck you. Imagine that there's Scottish goalkeepers who are playing senior football, thinking, fucking, I could have went and made up the numbers. Like, and
who's in the 21s? There must be goalies in the 21s.
You would have thought so, eh? Anyway, right, we're not here to talk about Scotland.
We can't be far away if we're getting in the squad, though. Like on the positive.
Us, aye. Well, like we were talking.
You've got gloves.
Aye, I did a decent turn at the Ron Gordon football list last summer. So if Steve Clark's listening, I'm available. And if you hit things straight at me, like Craig Gordon, I'll save them as well. I might not make it look as fancy to get everybody gushing about it,
That's it.
but I will save the ones that are straight at me. Right, we're not on to talk about Scotland. The next thing, off the field, the old ticket office being turned into a visitor centre. This is with the help of the Historical Trust and HSL. HSL also announced that they were significant partners with the club as well during the week. So John, visitor centre with Old Ticket Office is good idea.
Yes, if only from the point of view that I might get to see more of the insides than just just a wee bit when you go
Just
in
the
the
wee
door
window.
or the windows. Because there's an
Watch them all
upstairs,
sitting
there's a
behind the desk.
full hi, like what the fuck goes on through there? So no, that'd be good. And actually, like to be fair to the people that are doing it at the club, they've obviously had a success with the Albion they've put together, the behind the goals, etc. So like they'll do something very good with it.
Aye. Colin, you're having a good old yawn there. Is that just because we're on the subject of visitor centres or
Aye.
just
Yeah.
the habit?
It's both. It'll be good. Some of those strips in that. I think that's what it is. It's going to be in there, So it'll be good to have a wee
Yeah.
walk around.
I think it's something the club have been lacking at Easter Road, isn't it? I mean, they do the tours, and when you go on the tour, you can sort of see some of the old ships that are up in the stands and that. But I think to have a dedicated space for it, particularly when you have like summer in Edinburgh is flooded with tourists, that'd be a good thing to
Aye.
have people come down to the stadium.
Yeah.
You want to see that they can direct them out into the shop after it as well, like they go and spend a bit of money while they're there. I
The
think
old
it's
strips in that are good, It's good to see them and reminisce in that. I even think mind when we met Sean Maloney, he interviewed Sean Maloney for this. Mind can go back and listen to it. Like it'll still be there
it
here
was
somewhere.
a good interview as well. Sean,
Aye.
he was an hour late, right enough, but he made
Aye.
up for it.
But when he came up, we were up top stairs, I think, where they had the historical trust stuff, mind all the
Yeah.
old strips. And he was loving looking at the old strips and asking about, like, oh, was that the one Sosie? That was the one Sosie wore and all that. Like,
Aye.
he was, so it is a good thing. Like, yeah, I mean, it's not just, obviously more appeal to Hibs fans, but football fans it's something that's interesting,
If you could have an interactive exhibit like they have up Chambers Street where you push a wee button and something happens,
Red
what would it
button.
be?
Again, what a shout that is, John, by the way. That used to be the best thing about going to the museum when you were wee is get the press a wee red button.
Watch a wee train move 3 yards.
Brilliant. Um, the Gordons have been quite good at tapping into this sort of thing. I remember there was a thread on Hibsnet. I can't remember what triggered it, but it might have been actually just about the Gordon family. And I made the point about the match day experience. Remember Ron Gordon talking about that, and he
Yeah.
kind of sneered at. But that the last game of the season, lovely sunny day, stadium's full, the fire going at the start of the game and everything. You can hear the tannoy. You got a good game of football. I never got anything to eat, but there's the food's still a bone of contention for folk. But generally, the stadium's looking good and everything. Like the experience is better, and things like this with the visitor centre. I think the Gordon family have always been sort of acutely aware of the stuff that needs done and that sort of things. John, would you give them credit for that?
Uh, yes, you seem to have a better recollection of the things that they've said than I do. I think the bone of contention you mentioned about the food, I don't think will ever go away because it's going to be pies, isn't it? Like I think there's been a few efforts to try and change it. I think there was there a noodle bar at one point? I forget which stand it was in, but I don't remember ever seeing that open more than a handful of times. But the off the pitch stuff, I think it was sneered at initially because results weren't happening on the pitch, and that was acknowledged by Ron Gordon certainly, and I think it was acknowledged afterwards as well. So, I like at some point, I'm sure the the spotlight will turn on the visitor centre. Will say, oh, like some critic will say, what a fucking waste of money that was. Should be spending on the pitch, but it has been a good season. The things that the club have done, hospitality, etc., has definitely improved the off the field stuff. And now we want to see that attention start to turn back to the on the field stuff and improving that.
Fair enough. Green Tea said Tom and the Historical Trust had always wanted a dedicated building for their mementos. I'm really looking forward to it. I think there's going to be some really interesting pieces on display there. So I look forward to that. Next thing I was going to talk about, Colin, and we was in fact actually John, you were there as well. We have had a conversation with Malky McKay at the start of last season, and he was in the Herald and the Observer. I think shared the same article where he spoke to the interviewer and pulled out the All Blacks book and took up a section at the back which was about no dickheads. And there's a sort of no dickheads policy at Hibs and keeping with the All Blacks. Colin, you're a rugby man. You'll know the All Blacks story, no doubt. What were your thoughts when you saw that part?
So I've not read the book. I've heard loads about it. They do mention it, but they talk about stuff like, like the captain would like fucking pick the strips up and put them in the kit bag or sweep the
Mhm.
floor, and like all that kind of stuff. Almost to say like we're all the same. There's no pecking order hierarchy and all that. And I think that's where all that comes from. But they also speak of there's more than that they speak about. Like it's like taking the jersey to a better place than when you picked that up, sort of thing.
Mhm.
Like improving on it, improving on the person before you, and all that kind of stuff. But Malky just seems to have focused in on the no dickheads. It's working so far though.
Yeah,
Like, well, we've laughed at it, but we laughed at it last year when we said, "Oh, he's good guys." Eh? You know what I mean? But you look at the team and the teamwork and the team ethic, and especially with boys like Rocky, Iredale, all these guys that are at the forefront of the sticking up for their mates. And I've wondered about that in the past. Like especially in big games
aye.
where you go, they're just letting fucking four Hearts players push him about. Where's the rest of them? Again, like when you had McGregor, McGinn, and that, they were Bartley, they were always piling in, and we've got that again now. But you remember the teams that did it, and I think that ties into the no that kids. They're all in it together. They're all mates. They're all sticking up for each other. So I'm all for it. I think there's
Aye.
anything wrong with it. I don't know why I keep saying it. I just probably try to reinforce it to make that the culture, so that everybody's aware of it at Hibs as well as externally.
I think it's an important part of culture. Sorry, John, on you come, you're going to say something there.
No, I was just going to be a bit silly. I was going to ask, like, do you think if anyone's getting a bit wide in the dressing room, someone goes, "Oh, they dickheads."
Aye, maybe that's what's about. That's the whole thing about it.
Aye. That's the thing when you make it a thing that allows empowers the folk around them rather than putting up with it, which is what happens normally. Is folk go, "Oh fucking hell, I didn't feel like I can say anything about it." But when somebody acts a dickhead and you've got that policy, it's very easy to pull them up for it. And it becomes self policing within the dressing room. I think it's a good thing. I kind of like we joked about it at the start of last season, but that was never to sort of I think to diminish the point. I think you need, if you want to have a strong team, you need people who are team players. I think it stands to reason. And if you're bringing in folk that are good people, then I think they have to be good players as well. I think that's the bit that gets lost. Like you can't just hire somebody because they're a good guy. Like
Yeah.
I'd like to think we're decent guys, but I wouldn't put us on the pitch at Easter Road because
Colin would.
Linears.
Colin, you're looking at me like that, but
I'm
I
not
mean,
6'6". I'm not 6'5". That's what he said.
exactly. You you need the ability to go along with it, and if you've got the ability and the character, you'll go far in the game, and that's really what we're wanting at the club. I quite like the fact that it's prioritised though. Like I do like that they've got it on the agenda. The only thing I was thinking about it is how do you can like see when you're going for a reference, right? And you're going to a club who's maybe thinking I want to get rid of a player. Their manager's not going to say he's a dickhead. They'll be like, no, he's a good lad and that. It's just no work out for him here. You want to sign him? How much will you pay? He's a really good fucking lad. You try
That's
it.
what they're. But that's no like so. So I even know like
Uh,
watch what I'm saying. But there's. Well, I was talking to you about something before, eh? Like that's just a known thing, right? People
uh,
just know people in the game, so it doesn't need to be the manager that's got it because the manager will go, I really want rid of him because he's such a good guy, right? That's alarm bells right away. But it'll not be the manager they're going to ask. They'll be going, "Did you used to work with a boy called John? You know what I mean? John Fowler." I said that. You know what I mean? That kind of chat, and that's how they'll find out. It'll be because football's tiny, eh? Like football's like the Edinburgh Finance. Like everybody knows everybody, right? And it's just like it's just a tiny pool of people. You don't need to know that many folk to be able to find the real stuff out.
I have to say there was like a lot of encouraging signs on the sort of farewell post that the goalkeepers old club posted. There was like a lovely message, but it was like kind of like when Hibs got rid of sold John McGinn, and you could tell like they were sad to see him go, but happy he was moving on. Similar kind of vibe with that message. So they've maybe done their homework well on the goalkeeper. Right. Well, you want to talk about anything else before we go into September?
Has anything else happened? Not aware of anything
Nah,
else.
nothing really. Um,
Should have maybe
right.
kept some of that back for next week because I'm sensing it's got to dry up soon.
I will
Oh,
dry
come on.
up.
They're back soon, eh? Like, did you see that was one thing? Did you see all the dates? They came out with the dates, and their photo was on in the middle of it all.
What was it? I never
Aye,
mentioned.
that's the one that got blown up put in that group chat with us on the end. It was because it was in the actual website article.
Oh, right, we're on the Hibs
For the
website.
five sides last year. And but all the dates they're basically about pre-season, like the week after next or something. It's like fuck, they get no time off, eh?
That's mental. Mental. But good though. I'm glad when they come back because it means the season's getting near. Like I was on put a mention in a WhatsApp group earlier on where somebody was saying that it's fucking boring with the football. And this is on with international games as well, and that's not made it any better. The
I didn't
international
watch
games,
it.
if anything, has made it worse.
Hmm.
Not having the proper football on. Right. So we got up to 2-2 with Dundee last week, which was the last August fixture. Kicked off with Kilmarnock with a 1-1 game.
Hmm.
Let's have a look at the lineup for that game.
So this was the game. So Newell scored in this game, didn't he? It was 1-0. Newell scored, and then we lost a penalty and injury time. So this was when we're still giving it all the media and our own fans were giving it the weak centre, soft the shite stuff because we lost a late goal. I think that from memory, the Joe Newell one was the one where we debated. Did
Is
he
that the
mean it?
one that was for the corner and he sort of tucked it in the far left-hand corner?
Aye, did he mean it? That was a question.
The volley,
Mhm.
that was a lovely finish. Was that
No,
game?
the volley was the season before.
Aye, the
This
volley
one,
was
this one
right
was
foot.
like a floater to like the back post, and we went, "Oh, it's a
Oh, sure
cross,
it
wasn't
was.
it?"
Aye, it was.
He's just Ronaldinho'd it into the far corner.
Aye,
Saw the keeper off his line.
Aye.
that's right.
See, that was on purpose.
Aye,
Right, we lined up Bursick in goals, Lewis Miller, Ekpater, O'Hora, Boyle, Newell, Kwon, Bobita, Chiantis, Molotnikov, and Miko. It's not the worst team. Like, I actually thought the performance was alright that game.
but that's the thing. It was the results that was causing all the noise. The performances were okay, but we were doing a daft thing because that penalty they got in 92 minutes was it Obita took the boy's legs or something?
Oh, is he run right through the back
He
of
ran in
him?
Aye,
front of him.
he did.
Aye, the boy
Aye,
got in front of him and he just the legs sort of collided. It was one of the daft sort of the striker's knows that he's in front of the defender. If I fall down here, I'm going to get the penalty sort of style.
I've actually got a picture in my phone, I'm sure, from that game after Abita's given away the penalty. Do you remember the sort of viral trend for quite a few years ago where people were planking? That's what Abita looked like he was doing.
aye.
I laid down for
Uh,
ages after it, like
yeah,
facing the ground,
yeah.
the
And I've been
carpet.
there before. Oh, I've actually, I'll share it. I'll share it afterwards. It was like if you've ever played at Worldy Soccer, that you didn't want to put your face down because it comes up and you're just covered in fucking black pellets.
I think this was like obviously not the start of things going wrong because we'd seen it the week before with Dundee, but this was like when it was starting to feel like more of a pattern, wasn't it? Like that late goal again, just like okay, now you're waiting for the season to get started. You've had the Dundee game; it's not quite worked out. We go to Kelly, tough place to go, as
Always.
as we've spoken about. But I thought we were like well in control of the game. I'm just gonna see if we get if this has got the stats. So I nine shots actually. Kelly had 14 shots, 3 on target. We had 9, 4 on target. And they had slightly more possession than us. But actually, from memory, I didn't feel like we were in any bother in that game. Like I didn't think we were going to concede. And obviously, it gets to the death, and then Obita gives away the goal, and I felt like a proper kick in the balls, John, didn't it? That game.
A wee bit. Aye. And I think probably because like when you mentioned it about late goals, that was the thing that had haunted Nick Montgomery's side was giving away late goals after being like a goal ahead or 2 goals up. Because I think actually, ironically, Montgomery's first game was against Kilmarnock. We were 2-0 up and
Right.
got pegged back to 2-2. So I think that was probably the frustrating thing that it felt like we'd had a change, but we hadn't changed the outcome.
Yep. Um, right. Then we go to St Johnson at Easter Road. First win of the season. 2-0 win. John, what do you remember for this game? Craig Levine was in charge of St Johnson at this point. Tremendous.
Was he?
This
Do you
was
know
when
what?
did he not leave straight after it?
I think this was pretty much the end of him.
Aye.
I cannot remember for the life of me. Like, you might say something that jogs my memory, but at the moment, I'm drawing nothing.
Colin,
I'm the same. Like I'm just looking back at it. I don't think I was at this game, right? I think I missed this one. But I remember talking about Levine on the radio after it, because I think I might have been on at one of her games and I was coming back and I put it on the radio on the way back and Levine sounded so downbeat. I thought, this is fucking brilliant.
that was the notable thing about
Aye.
that game is in fact, I think that was one where that was the first time I found out you could pause BBC Sounds app, and I made sure I did so I could go back and listen to Levine being absolutely fucking devastated. Ronnie's asked, did Bowie get his first goal? I think it was Miko and Boyle were the scorers that game.
Was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aye. Lineup: Bursic, Ekpateta, Hora, Yuan, Chris Cadden, Kwon, Nicky Cadden, Abita, Chiantis, Molotnikov, and Miko. Boyle came off the bench. McCurdy played in that game. Hoylett came off the bench. Josh Campbell off the bench, and Lewis Miller as well. I reckon we probably would have looked at that team and thought it looked decent. I think it was like a really comfortable performance. Like St Johnstone were fucking shite.
Yeah.
Aye. I've just watched Kaharovic's goal and it was bundled in. Like, it was, I don't know, did you call it a classic striker's finish?
What was the goal
Probably
like?
not.
You're going to talk us through because I can't really remember it off the top of my head.
I tell you what, I'll try and talk you through it live. You can test my commentator skills. 1 second. All right, okay. So
The
the
alternative.
assistant's just the assistant's just flagged for 2 minutes for offside. Ekpateta backstick nods it in, and Kaharovic stabs it past the goalkeeper at the back of the net,
Aye, I remember
and
it
he
now.
runs away looking like he can't believe it. I couldn't either.
Now you say
But
what was the goal like?
incidentally, Block 7 still had their banner the right way round at that point.
Right? And it would have stayed the right way around after this as well, because obviously we won this one, first league win of the season.
Kensal was still in charge.
Aye, I thought that might have been like the wee turning point for us, like that. You know, where you're waiting for the season to get going, and then we win that one, and then of course we go away to Rangers for the next game. So the Rangers game, Colin, was one that we lost, but came away with a lot of credit from it.
We came away. I was listening back on this one during the week and we were quite positive about it because performance was okay, performance was good, missed the penalty, shite penalty. And we kind of limited their chances and it felt like we weren't far away. So we were thinking, well, we've just won a game. I think we were talking about 3-4 unbeaten, like before that, because we drew Dundee, we drew with a couple of draws before that.
Dundee, Kelly, St Johnson's
So
three.
it's three unbeaten. Yeah. And then we lost at Ibrox. So we were kind of positive going in. Thought, well, it's a narrow loss. We expected to lose, but we only lost 1-0 and we missed a penalty. And that was like, maybe we could have had a red card that we never got and all that kind of stuff. So, aye, looking back, it was a fucking terrible penalty though. You know,
Is
when
he
you look
sort of stutter stepped up to it or something?
aye, that's exactly what he done. So, and as we said at the time on the podcast, like, see if you're doing the starter step that we've just christened it, like I've never heard it called that before, but I like it, right? He done that, and then he just kicked it the way the goalie dived. The whole point of doing that is to let the goalie
Yeah.
dive, so you can roll it in another corner.
Make him look stupid.
It's not like when you hear the commentators talking about penalty shoots, and it's like, oh, you just need to make your mind up and smash it. Then you change your mind, all that. The point of that thing isn't it to do that. That's to make your mind up during the events because you've got to wait and see where the goalie dives. Whereas he had already made his mind up, but he went up with no power back and rolled it back into the boy's hands.
Butland's not sure if he could pick it up, if we're going to get penalised for the pass back.
Terrible.
Was this is a shooter handball as well? We had a bit of chat about that as well. So this was when they introduced the new element into the denial of a goal scoring opportunity where the goalkeeper might save it.
Yeah.
Which we'd never heard before, eh? Like goalie might save it, so it wasn't a red card.
That was the SFA in that introduced this or sports scene, because actually, to give credit to that Refs View podcast, they were the ones that were ridiculing that and have since cast it back up saying, well, that's the new rule that they've made up. So they've been on that one. They agree with us on that. But I know that was what. But when we were talking about it, John was pretty firm that it was a red card, and you were kind of saying, well, it's kind of just hit off Kaharovic, and it's like Suter didn't care where it was going, and it's hit his hand, so maybe it's not a red card sort of thing. So that was the debate at the time. So we were debating it between
Aye.
ourselves, should it be red or not.
I think on reflection, though, I think it should have been a red card.
Aye,
I think I thought at the time it was a red card, and then I changed my mind.
you maybe do devil's
Started,
advocate.
but by
It
the
didn't
time
sound.
we started recording, I was like, "Fucking, maybe it's not a red card." And
It's that's the thing with the media, though, because you'd maybe watch sports scene and they were telling you this stuff, and then you're thinking maybe they're right, and it's confused. You know what I mean? It's actually confused your thought. Whereas John, we hadn't seen sports scene and was like, well, obviously a fucking red card because that's the rules.
it was mad that we didn't really kick on for that game the way like that. That was one like you'd have the St Johnson one, and that one it felt like, "Come what we're going to be all right." I remember like watching that
Yeah.
and thinking we'll be fine because it was a good performance, and Rangers at home tend to win anyway. Like I know they never had the best season last season, but normally you're not really expecting to take much for Ibrox, and when you put in a performance like that, John, were you optimistic after it?
Honestly, I'd be a hypocrite if I said that I felt optimistic because it's taken me so much effort to try and remember certain things. But what you were talking about there with regards to Rangers at Ibrox, and you can kind of expect them to win. I think the circumstances of that game were that I don't know whether the missed penalty was first or Rangers goal came first, and we had an opportunity to get back in it. But I think it was a bit of a wonder hit, kind of edge of the box into the top right hand corner. And you can kind of think, well, like you'd restricted them to, or sorry, prevented them from scoring other chances, and they've scored a wonder goal, and maybe you've had a chance to be ahead and get paid back or go ahead or whatever. And I wonder if that influenced the not the narrative so much, but the way that people were feeling as we went into October and we started to falter a little bit. Because I don't remember the exact circumstances of the Motherwell game, but then I'm seeing Dundee United 3-2. Is that the one where we had a player sent off and then we've just kind of like capitulated towards the end? So those things build up in supporter psyches. Like Colin, you
Yeah.
mentioned at the start, like with regards to Smith, like credit the bank, it almost works in the same sort of principle. Those things linger for way longer than they should, and
Yeah.
it can have the effect of sort of dragging you down a bit.
Because September was actually a decent month. Like,
It was
I
not
lost
bad.
to Rangers, but it was a narrow loss, missed a penalty. Should have had the red card. We beat some Johnston and we lost a silly last minute penalty away to Kelly. It was actually a good month, right? But when you get into October, which I don't know if we're going to start or not, right?
I will just might
But
as well do October because there's a couple of significant games in there.
it was really negative. Like some of the talking points we were getting in and stuff that we were talking about, and it's like September's been all right, and that's where I think I was always going, you're over egging this, like when it was Sat Gray and all the chat, and I'm going, we're all right, we're not that bad.
Aye, we're running that far away. It is like obviously it's different when you're not in the middle of it. Like you're coming back retrospectively, you know how it ends up. So I just know there, Jack saying hi lads, hi Jack. Obviously Jack a wee shout out if you go and Jack C 99 vlogs, go and subscribe to his channel if you want some extra Hibs content. Motherwell was the next game, the home time Motherwell. Again, a game I think we were winning that 1-0 and looking
No,
comfortable.
No, we came back to 1-1.
Okay.
Yeah.
1-0 down 1-1 and then 2-1 to lose it.
Aye, but we had Triantis sent off in between, and Halliday scored 2 minutes after Triantis had been sent off for his second booking.
I thought we were in control of that game as well. So Triantis got booked for the dive, didn't he? Like his first booking was, I thought that was a harsh one as well. I didn't actually think he dived, but
we spoke about it at the time. We didn't think that. We thought that it's not a foul, it's not a penalty, but it's not a yellow either.
aye, I thought he was unlucky. The second booking was a booking, I think, but the damage is done by then. That was a game, John, definitely where it was like we shot ourselves in the foot here. But it was a stupid like get booked for a dive, even even if it's no dive. I think if that becomes harsh, then criticising somebody for getting booked for a dive that we didn't think was a dive.
It's the compounding factors, I think. So, well, I can't remember the sort of ebbs and flow of the game, and I couldn't say for definite whether Hibs were on top or not. But even if you look at it from the point of view that we were behind, and then we get back into it, 20 minutes later, you have a player sent off. And then 2 minutes later, you have Halliday, who has a sort of rich and varied history of playing against Hibs, to score against you to put the team ahead. That's something that compounds that feeling of, oh, fuck, here we go again.
Mm. Colin, what are your memories of coming away from that game? Think
Really disappointed, and I remember, and I have listened to our podcast the back then, so I do have clearer memories. But I was in hospitality that day, and I was sitting beside a Motherwell fan, and he had said to me before the game, "We didn't win many games. Like we didn't win many games by a big margin. You know, we kind of just stick in and head in, and then we tend to get a lot of 2-1s either way." And then the 1-2-1, I was like, "Fuck's sake!" I said to him after it, "Fucking hell!" Like, you know, it's like that's what we do. Like that's how they pick their points up. Whereas I remember, I think we spoke about it in here. It's like our expect we wouldn't be happy to settle for a load of 2-1 wins. But then why no? Why would we not? And then I think we probably did as the season went on. You know what I mean? It was like win the fucking game. And that's what they done. They weren't great. And as much as I think we thought we were much better and all that, the XG in that game was they had a they had a higher XG.
did they?
Aye, not by much like, but yours was like almost dead on one, and they were 1.2 something.
Oh, I
Um,
remember talking about that with you.
so it was a wee bit better. So they took their chance better than us. But aye, we left Halliday unmarked at the back post. I think it was not a throw in.
Aye, it was.
It threw in. He was at the back post, and you're going, "Fuck! If we just had a throw in straight to the back post and let him tap it in."
Aye,
Um,
fucking ludicrous.
aye, so it wasn't great. And then the debate was, when was the last time we won 3 games in a row? Because
Hmm.
we spoke about breathing space for a manager. Because that was the night in that Albion bar. People were saying, "Fucking hell, we've got to sack him in that." Because and I'm going, "Fuck's sake!" And Greg, who our former sponsor, he had said, "When do we ever win 3 games in a row?" Because that's the breathing. That's when you start to get breathing space. When the
Aye,
chat stops about. Because I texted you at the time saying, "When the last time we won three games in a row?" And it was we're way back years. And obviously now it's more than three we've done, eh? But you know, it's like we've broke a lot of records this year, like because the three in a row was going way back.
that's the way that it went. Eh?
Oh, I really hope the criticism in the future is, when was the last time we went 17 unbeaten?
No, imagine this year if you want to get in, we're like, "Fucking hell."
Pathetic. The losers mentality. Dundee United away was the next one. John, you referenced this game already, the 3-2. Um, this was a proper sickening as well, because we were 2-1 up and really comfortable in the game. Like Dundee United, I didn't really think looked like scoring at all. I know they go ahead in that game. They go 1 up, and then we went 1-1, 2-1.
Dalby scored in the 20th minute, aye.
Aye. And then Dwight Gale scored for us. Who was the other goal?
It was a horror. Had scored first for Hibs,
Mm.
Gale next. I think Gale actually put us ahead.
We did. I remember it was like in the back post. I remember that goal. I can't really remember O'Hara's goal in it, but I can remember Gale's. Uh, I call this was like another sick night. We kind of wondering, how the fuck have we done that?
Aye. Well, if you look at their goals, it was 93 and 95 minutes. 99, sorry, 93,
Mm.
99 minutes they scored their goals in. So I thought, aye, we went 0 down, 1-0 down, but we were doing all right. And then we were 2-1 up. And you're going, we're all right, we're not cruising here, but we're doing all right. We're going to win this game. And then Newell got sent off quite late, 85 for his second yellow. Um, and I can't remember what held the game up that much for it to be 9-10 minutes injury time. But this was the Bursick show, wasn't it?
Aye. What was the hold up in that game? Couldn't it have just been the
There must have been VAR check.
Aye, it can't have just been the sending off though, could it?
I'm just searching quickly through the match report if you want to talk about it. But no, I mean, it was 99 minutes they scored in the winner. So
Because that was one of these ones like you lose a late goal and you think, fucking hell, we're only getting a point when we've been in front, and then you get like the double whammy of fucking conceding a late goal for
Dundee
the
United had a goal chopped off for VAR just after half time for offside. So I don't know how long that took. But that's only mentioned in the match report.
because it's not even like we would have been time wasting that much because Newell's not sent off till late on.
Mhm.
That was this when the warning signs really started coming out with Bursick, John?
I don't think so. I think the conversations that we'd had prior to that, I seem to remember the fact I don't even know when it came in. There was a Dundee game. I think it was at Dundee where Ekpiteta's made the pass back, and there's been a debate whether it's Ekpiteta's fault or whether it was Bursick's fault, or maybe that was at Celtic.
It was
I can't
Celtic.
remember exactly.
There was warning signs all season about him, right? Because
Well, you're on record as saying that there was one
exactly,
season
yeah.
signs. But I think
This was the
uh,
final nail for me.
do you know? I was going to say it was not the final nail, like the sort of beginning of the end, because I think the sending off for Newell, there was the first goal, but did the second goal come from a complete miscommunication? Or am I getting them mixed up? There was a miscommunication between Bursick and I think Iredale that led to one of the goals.
I think he was involved in calamitous moments for both of them. Like,
Yeah, sorry, I'm just
you
trying to
remember
remember the
the winner
specifics
sailing over
because
his head, like if he's
yeah,
come for a boy should never have been fucking near.
yeah. So, but whether it's the beginning or the end, the final nail in the coffin, like it was just another instance of Bursick coming under the spotlight where we've conceded goals and he's been found to be uh, culpable by the majority.
Aye, I think about you that it was the beginning and the end because obviously he had another couple of games after that. The next one being the derby, of course.
Should you say the Motherwell? One of the Motherwell goals we spoke about. I think did he duck under that as well? The finish. It was like he didn't go up. He sort of crouched down, and the guy hit
Like
over
he
his
went
head,
right
right?
through him. One of these
Mm-hmm.
ones.
So there was that. It was like there was a totally character assassination on the boy here, but it was almost every week, every goal you go. He never stretched his arm out. He never jumped to that pass back. He should have dealt with that pass back. He's just kicked it straight out to that player. You know what I mean? And then they ones you go, what the fuck is he doing?
Came on, didn't help. He had a brilliant save against Rangers at Ibrox.
Right.
On. Like an absolute brilliant
Save
save.
of the season stuff.
How he saved that? Aye. But because we lost the game and then he's going on to have a stinker after it, you forget that. The derby was up next. The first derby of the season, one each at Easter Road. Kukovic scored there. It wasn't like a classic goal, was it? But went in, wild celebrations, etc. And they scored for a fucking throw. It was like the Motherwell goal again, wasn't it? But I think Bursick got criticism for this one because he had
The corner away,
aye,
didn't they?
he gave a corner away first that we should never have given it away. They should have let the ball go out, I think, or held on to it. I can't quite remember exactly what happened, but he let a ball go through him out for a
Aye.
corner. I think the corner came in, went out for a throw in, and they scored for the throw in. So it's like that. He's not directly responsible for it, but indirectly responsible. But this was it young laddie that played for Hearts that got the goal?
Aye, Wilson, aye. Got one of his
And
5 or
how
6
many
goals.
times did they do that? Kim was stuff like that. They'll chuck some fucking laddie in and fucking he'll get a goal in a
Did he
derby.
go to school the next day?
Aye. What dick?
That's true. Like genuine. Like went to fucking high school the day after. He scored the equaliser in the 86th minute in the derby.
We were the better team that day again, no John, weren't we?
Oh fuck! I'm sorry. I've just watched the goal. So full disclosure to everyone listening, if I seem completely oblivious to events, there's been lots of times in the last season where I've just been focusing on exams and what have you. So I don't think I actually watched this game, but I've just seen the corner coming for the right hand side, and it's just a classic derby goal that we're on the end of. Launched in, someone gets a heel in it, and there's a foot in there that sticks it in off the post.
Aye.
So I'll leave it up to you to tell me whether we were on top in that game or not.
Well, Colin, better team.
But memory, aye. Well, I felt we were, and it was just one of them where we got one goal. Scrappy, it was as it was, but and where we were at that time, we weren't hanging on to Leeds, and that obviously flipped as no long after this. But we could not hold on to a one goal lead. At Kilmarnock, then we had Motherwell, then we had Motherwell was 1-1, but you know what I mean. We were on top at 1-1. Then we had this one. We had the Dundee United. We were 2-1 up. You know what I mean? It was like we were continually throwing away Leeds with stupid fucking mistakes that was caused by us. Like just every goal in that run there, Motherwell, Dundee United, Kilmarnock, Hearts, all the points dropped weren't caused by a team being better. They were caused by us gifting.
Aye, spot on. Hearts had loads of possession that game, so 64%. But I think we were really comfortable letting them have the ball, and then when we got it, we looked dangerous. We had more shots than them. Remember this when Chantis got booked 4 minutes in?
I was going to say, is this a game? I thought it was even earlier. I thought it was like 1 or 2 minutes.
Aye.
It was at the touchline somewhere, I think. He'd never
Aye,
tripped somebody up.
But it was a fucking nonsense booking as well. Like, that was one of the ones that the referee could easily have gone, I'll keep my card in my pocket here. Easily.
It would have done an Old Firm game, because it's, well, definitely. Because then somebody, one of the Hearts players done it 5-10 minutes later.
Aye.
And never got booked. And you go, well, if you started in the fourth minute, how are you not doing it now? Like, we're 15 minutes, 20 minutes in.
Aye. Devlin was their first player booked 64 minutes. It's fucking mental. Like, and that's your defensive midfielder on a booking pretty much the whole game. He's like he's a mistake away from being sent off. Thought Chantis did well not to get sent off in that game.
Did he play the whole game? He never got subbed, did he?
Nah, he didn't get. He played the 90.
I remember, because I think I've not listened back to that one actually. I didn't go round to it, but you go, because we were getting messages in all the time talking about players getting, like, you need to sub him, he's got to get sent off.
Manager's fault for subbing him. Aye. Jake Doyle Hayes played in that game.
Mind him?
Aye.
Are we allowed to talk about him, or are we restricted because of ongoing legal troubles?
We can mention him. It's not legal proceedings.
When's the next bit of the court case? Do we know what happens?
Don't know if it'll even get as far as that. Last game to see out October was 0-0 at Ross County.
Hard place to go.
It's a tough place to go. all the shit.
It's a harder place to come back from by the look of some of the results up there. Eh? Like, it must be the fucking worst journey home gone.
Oh, it was a Wednesday night.
The XG in that game must have been like 0.01 for
negative numbers, mate. That's what.
What happened in that game that stopped us winning? Did we miss like a penalty or anything, or not? We didn't.
I can't remember. I would have watched it obviously Wednesday night. I wasn't there.
Aye.
But I would have watched it on TV. I'm just trying to skim through the match report to see if I remember any of it.
Stalemate in Dingwall. Right. That's like the world's shortest nightmare story.
We had 2 shots on target. So did they? They had 13 shots. We had 12, but 2 on target each, and it finished 0-0.
The BBC match report actually mentions the XG not being.
It does. I'm just looking at the same thing.
He was what? Just crap.
Wasn't that high, but Hibs are still taking their chances, sort of thing.
Aye. Pretty forgettable evenings football, I think, for everybody involved.
It'd be winter time. Clocks will have went back and that by then. That would have been a Wednesday night. Again, at Ross County, it's never that light, because we always seem to play them on a fucking January or not October night under the lights, and it's like the pitch isn't light. Like it seems to be darker down the sides and that. It's like, fucking hell, hard to watch.
I think they've turned the contrast down up there just to make people off.
It's just to make it a hard place to go.
Joe Capaldi says, "Hi guys, the 3-2 loss to Dundee United at home was a classic Hibs that fortunately Smith and Rocky soon came in for Bursic and Ekpiteta, and the rest is history."
Joe, we didn't use Hibs that.
No, right. We didn't. Right, that's October done. Next week we'll get in November, which is when the roller coaster ride fucking really takes off. Then we get to the lowest depths, and then things start to pick up. We spoiler there for you if you'd not watched last season already.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Right, we're going to go and record extra time now. So we will wrap up this one now. If you're wondering what extra time is, it's our subscriber only podcast or YouTube show, depending on how you consume it. You get that on our Patreon, or if you're a YouTube member, it's well worth signing up. If you're not signed up already, you get a free trial, 7 days to try it out. And if you don't like it, you don't have to take it. It's only £3, so why would you know? We're going to talk about how the squad's shaping up for next season, and probably expand a wee bit on the conversation we had about Jordan Smith versus Salinger coming in for as a new goalkeeper, and who gets the starting positions. So thanks for tuning in. For everybody that left comments on YouTube, thank you very much, and we will see you all next time.